السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. معكم ماجد أو لا دقيقة، 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10. أوكي. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. استغفر الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. معكم ماجد أو مين أنا مين أنا مين أنا مين. أوكي. Have you played the Stanley Parable before? No. Please adjust the slider until the computer is barely visible. barely visible يعني ما ينشاف ولا كيف؟ اوكي هذا very visible. barely visible. هذا the chair is visible but the computer is not visible. قال لك barely visible. هنا خلاص كويس عادي كذا كويس. please enter the current time. بالله حقيقة الساعة 11 و 29 بي ام. انتظرت تصير 30 بي ام عشان يعني 30 عشان اخذ كذا. انتظر تصير 30. اوكي ننتظر شوية زيادة. عطنا دقيقة. 29 يا اخي ليه البرايت صار 30. اوكي نوت accessibility setting can be accessed. اوكي you are playing the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe. Begin the game. Settings credit desktop. Begin the game. Ever the end is never the end is never the end.
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
I don't know يا عمر ما ادري اذا سكري جيم خشيت كذا ما ادري ايش قاعد يصير.
Where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard. Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order.
Okay.
This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-rending, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Cool. طب دقيقة الحين.
One day, something very peculiar happened.
Okay, thank you for interrupting me.
Never changed Stanley. Something he would never quite forget.
Okay.
He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
اوكي دقيقة. خلني اول شيء. طيب كذا صح؟ لا باقي شوية. لا اوكي خلني كيف اضبط هذا كذا كويس. ما ادري كذا بعدين كذي اتوقع كذا كويس. اوكي ما ادري اذا لعبة رعب كذا شفت ناس يلعبونها قلت اوه نايس ماي تيرن I want to do this. ف let's get right into it. وما ادري اذا صوتي يعني اعلى من شوف ابي صوتي يكون عالي. اوكي بعلي صوتي عشان ابي يكون اعلى من اللعبة. ما ادري عاد مايكي دائما it plays games with me. فما ادري يلا نخش نسوي اللي نسويه. طيب هنا قال لي stepped out of the مدري ايش. بدي اخش هنا؟ لا هنا ما يمديني.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
شندم
How
هنا.
hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
نمبر 1 ليه قاعد اشتغل مع جارفيلد. ثاني شيء هو فارتد. استغفر الله. نمبر 1 داد الله يكثر من امثالك. I like work. I just hate my boss. طب اذا شافك البوس وانت تشرب من ذا شو يقول؟ ايش هذه ما ادري ايش مكتوب. ما ادري. طيب شب بالغلط معليش راعي الجهاز. بي ماي اكسكيوز مي لو سمحت. هاي هيت ماندز. طيب نكمل يعني نمشي ما في شيء هنا.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
لا يمين درب الغانمين او
This
المؤمنين.
was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
اسكت. نوتبوك.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room. Stanley simply stood here, drinking, but eager to get back to business. Stanley took the first open door on his left.
اذا رحت قدام. ايش هنا؟
Stanley was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
ها ايش؟ ايش قاعد يصير باللعبة دي؟ اوه ايش هذا؟ يقول اوه يكزا. وشو يكزا؟ اوه دقيقة قاعد ايش دقيقة؟ ايش قاعد دقيقة. دقيقة كاتب ياكوزا انا لاني كذاب ترى مو قاعد العب ياكوزا. قلت ستانلي بارابل. من وين لقيت ياكوزا انت يا كذاب يا كذاب؟ طيب.
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not.
ما
I realize that investing in your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time. There's someone you've been neglecting, Stanley. Someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
ايش قاعد يقول؟ مين هذا ولا قاعد يقول ايش يسوي؟
Stanley, your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life.
تكلمني؟
She's been waiting.
وات ذا فك؟ اوه وات ذا فك؟
That's her, Stanley.
ما اخاف انا ما اخاف ترى اللي يقول ما حد.
To
ايش؟
reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
طيب دقيقة ما يمديني اطلع. ما ابي اسمع كلام هذا. بفصل السلك. بفصل
Stanley
الواير.
picked up the phone. A white light engulfed him, filling him not just with radiance, but with hope. Hope for a life reunited.
فصلت والله من جد فصلت شو اسمه.
Oh goodness.
فصلته.
Stanley, did you just unplug the phone?
Yes I did.
That wasn't supposed to be a choice. How did you do that?
سكيل.
Actually, chose incorrectly. I didn't even know that was possible.
اي
Double check. Absolutely
لا.
clear as day. Stanley picks up the phone. He's taken to his apartment where he finds his wife, and the two pledge themselves to one another. Music
ما بكلمها. لا ما
Goodbye
اكلم حريم
to
انا.
no credits.
قصدي لا
Picking up
زوجتي.
the
اوكي
phone
ما
is
ادري.
actually somehow an incorrect course of action. How is that even possible? None of these decisions were supposed to mean anything. I don't understand. How
يا
on earth are you making meaningful choices? What did you... Wait a second. Did I just...
خليه يوقف كلام بعدين نرد عليك.
No, that's not possible. I can't believe it.
ما يسكت هو.
Why not noticed it sooner? You're not Stanley. You're a real person.
كسر امك وات كريزي.
I can't believe I was so mistaken. This is why you've been able to make correct and incorrect choices. And to think I've been letting you run around in this game for so long. If you'd made any more wrong choices, you might have negated it entirely. It's as though you completely ignored even the most basic safety protocol for real-world decision-making. Or did you not grasp the severity of the situation? Well, I won't have that kind of risk on my watch. I'm going to
على
stop the game
ساعتي.
for a moment so we can educate you properly on safe decision-making in the real world. Please observe this helpful instruction.
ما يوقف يسكت يسولف. طيب.
Choice. It's the
استغفر
best
الله.
part of being a real person. But if you
اوكي اسمع. محمد يقول ما هذه اللعبة. محمد واحد الله يهديه ناقص عقل. استغفر الله. محمد واحد الله يهديه. الله يهديه بس. شو اسمه يقول وش ذي؟ ما ادري. شفت كذا كم يوتيوبر يلعبونها قلت ما ابي اشوفهم يلعبونها. قلت انا ابي العبها. طيب فرحت قلت اوكي اخذت اللعبة الحين قاعد العبها. نايس. لازم ريزومي.
Used incorrectly can also be the most dangerous. For example, in this scenario, a hypothetical
يشبهك شوف يشبهك.
has a choice. He could invent a machine that eliminates food shortages across the world to make life better for all people. Or he could
Yes.
spend years of hard work forgetting how to read. Which
What?
choice would you make? Remember that unlike here, the real world makes sense, and at no time should you make a choice that does not conform to rational logic. If you
Fish.
find yourself speaking with a person who does not make sense, in all likelihood, that person is not real.
NPC ها what اوكي يعني زي ما يقول لك محمد لما تسولف معاه ما تفهم عليه هي زي NPC.
Allow the person to finish their thought, then provide an excuse why you cannot continue talking. Turn to a partner and practice saying, "My goodness, is it 4:30? I'm supposed to be having a back, sack, and crack."
ايش معناته ذي؟ practice.
Excellent. Making choices on a regular basis is the best part to a healthy decision-making process.
ايش قاعد يصير هنا؟
Most medical professionals recommend making at least 8 choices per day. Do you
What?
make more than 8? Less?
ما ادري
Finally,
ما عندهم.
if you begin to wonder if your choices are actually meaningful and whether you'll ever make a significant contribution to the world, just remember that in the vast infiniteness of space, your thoughts and problems are materially insignificant, and the feeling should subside. At
طيب
this time, your instructor will guide you in an exercise to test and reinforce the material covered in this video.
ما ادري والله اذا اللعبه اصلا كويسه ولا لا بس اوكي.
You may have noticed that this room has begun
Allah,
to
ايش قاعد يصير؟
deteriorate as a result of narrative contradiction. But not to worry. Now that you're properly informed on good decision making, we're going to revisit a choice you made just a few minutes ago and see what the correct thing to do would have been.
Okay.
This way, please.
ما بدي نروح مكان ثاني؟ ما اسمع كلامك كذا ابدا. طيب you cannot jump. ايش قاعد يصير؟ ما ادري ايش يبي مني.
Now that we know your choices are meaningful, we can't have you jumping off the platform and dying.
اوه كنا بدينا نسوي كذا بساعات.
Dying senselessly halfway through the story. That story would make no sense at all.
It would.
To get you home as soon as possible before the narrative contradiction gets any worse. Unfortunately, it seems this place is not well equipped to deal with reality.
ترى يعني اذا ماتت الشخصية الرئيسية في نص القصة يعني it would not be a bad story. اعرف قصة اسمها شوف سوى عنها فيلم هو كتاب اسمه struck by lightning جيد جدا اتوقع ما ادري اخواتي كانوا يتابعونه اول كان عندهم كتاب كان عندهم كل شيء يقولوا يتابع معانا واذكر كذا ما كنت ادري ايش قاعد يصير بس انه تابع ممكن انا برجع اتابعه struck by lightning اسمه. ايش هذا؟
Almost there. You'll take the door on the left, back to the correct ending, the story will have resolution once again, and you'll be home free in the real world.
طيب عاد تدري يعني اي فيلم تابع مع اخوانك كذا او اخواتك بيكون يعني اسطوري فما ادري اذا كان كويس ولا لا.
Remember, all you need to do is behave exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm going to be up to the task.
اشغلتنا يا اخي اشغلتنا انت.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left. No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back in the other direction. Perhaps we're not too late.
ليه؟ ما ابي يا اخي. يمين ضرب المؤمنين. طيب ها دخلنا هنا اليسار الله يهديك بس.
Oh, it's ruined. I can't believe after everything we talked about that my story, you've destroyed my work. Why?
ايش قاعد يصير؟
What did you get out of that?
ايش قاعد يصير
What do
هنا؟
you think was so special about seeing the game undone, left here like so much garbage? It's worthless now.
شي عصب في ذا
Even if there were a way to
نفس.
continue, would it be worth it? To know that my story is now incorrect? How can I go back to that? I can't erase that knowledge. I'll have to live with it forever. reliving its impossibility forever. I couldn't live that way. Is it better to shut the game down entirely? To willingly destroy all of my work? I don't know. What's the answer? What do I do? What do I do?
بعص صعبتها عليك
I
كذا
have to.
شيء يصيح.
Shut the game down. I have to. I have to.
هاي واو وات ذا ايش قاعد يصير؟ ترى ما راح اروح يسار مرة ثانية، اسف.
I'm here.
وينك؟
I'm still here in this pile of rubbish, with you who thought you were so clever.
معليش
Now look where we are. My entire game is destroyed.
حقك
It
عليه.
was the only thing in the world that was mine, and you've run it into the ground.
My fault.
Did you think that would be funny? You
Yes.
just had to see?
Yes.
Didn't I impress upon you how important it was to be like Stanley?
اخي ما اعرف
He knows how
الرجال.
to do what I tell him to. He understands that if I say to do something, there's a damn good reason for it.
طيب حقك عليه
That thought
معليش.
hadn't even occurred to you, had it? That there's a world outside of you? You're a child.
What the fuck?
Oh, my story. If you'd just gone through the door on the left, you would have seen it. There was a whole underground facility. You would have destroyed it.
حرق
Been victorious.
حرق من اللعبة.
It's so perfect. I worked so hard on it.
حرق اللعبة.
So hard to make
حرق علي اللعبة كذا ما ادري ليه.
exactly as Stanley would. That means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When
استغفر الله واتوب اليه.
opened doors, he entered the door on his left.
الحين لو رحت يمين شو يصير؟ شوف هو يمين درب المؤمنين، انا رحت يمين مرتين، ثالث مرة تسم الجرة يا رجال. يلا مشينا.
No! Why did you do that? Quickly, hurry back. Behave exactly as Stanley would.
Okay,
that means choosing responsibly and always putting the story first. I'm quite sure you'll be up to the task. Just follow my lead and you'll be fine. All right. When Stanley came to a set
خلاص فهمت يا اخي. يا الله.
he entered the door on his left.
اوكي ما راح اروح مرة رابعة، خلاص زقت. يلا فرحان الحين. بلشت اهلنا.
Yet there was not a single person here either.
Talk less, do unbelievably amazing work all the time every day with no expectation of promotion or recognition. Don't get fired.
He might find an answer there.
كمل مشي.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
بوس اوفيس هنا. بوس يا راجل، يا بوس، يا كابتن. وين البوس؟ انت هنا؟ انت ما في هنا. بوس.
Stepping inside his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
Damn.
Shocked, unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief who orchestrated this.
Who
Until he saw
orchestrated
the door
this?
with a voice receiver next to it.
هذا.
Surely behind this door lay all the answers to his questions. And beyond all probability, he knew the passcode. He had seen it on his boss's computer just last week. Night Shark 115. Was this the code to open the door? Would it still work? There was only one way to find out. Stanley had been trained never to speak up, but now he would draw from within himself the courage to face the unknown. He drew a sharp breath and then spoke the code.
اقول الحين يعني نايت شارك 115. كلب انت. دقيقة. اوديو. اوكي ما ادري. جيب هذا. ما ادري هذا الشيء ده. اوكي طيب ما اقدر.
Stanley spoke the code. Night Shark 115. He spoke it into the receiver, right there on the wall.
ما اقدر. نايت شارك 115. شكلي غبي وانا احاول صح؟ نايت شارك 115.
I'm sorry, is there a problem?
Yes.
You didn't mishear me, did you?
Oh yeah, no.
Speak the code into the receiver.
ما اقدر.
Otherwise we can't get on with the story.
I-
This is a crucial step.
I cannot. Hey, نايت شارك 115. ما ضبط. شوف ها.
Okay, fine. You're not gonna do it,
But you know what?
وش
It's pretty humiliating to bring you this far, only for you to suddenly decide you have better things to do. I asked you for this one single thing, for your respect. The kind of respect Stanley shows for his choices. He knows what it means to take a story seriously. If you didn't want to see what I had to show you, then why did you come here? You had a choice, you know. You could have gone through the door on the right. You could have done whatever the hell you wanted over there. Why did you come this way? Speak. Say something to me. Explain yourself, you coward. You...
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors,
what the fuck
he entered the door on his left.
ايه يو what the fuck يو
Stanley?
ولد
Hello?
رجال
Is everything okay? Stanley, please. I need you to make a choice.
the end
I need you to walk through the door.
the Stanley Parable وال شريت لعبة وضيعت فلوسي على عشان يسوي فيني
Is that
كذا
all right?
كروز
Stanley, this is important. The story needs you. It needs you to make a decision. It cannot exist without you. Do you understand me? Whatever choice you make is just fine. They're both correct. You cannot be wrong here. We can work together. I'll accept whatever you do. I simply need you to take that step forward, please. Choose. Do something. Anything. This is more important than you can ever know. I need this. The story needs it.
طعم اللعبة 20 دقيقة كذا
So,
خلصت
you hear me? Are you there?
ليش شكلي كذا طيب
Listening to
هذا
this?
أنا
Stanley, are you there? Okay. It's okay, I can wait. You need time to decide. Time to make sure your choice is correct. That is the best choice. That's all right. I'll wait for you to decide what's the right thing to do. Take as much time as you need.
اوكي ما ادري ايش يبي مني
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
يا الله يا
No
اخي
matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
بدنا نلعب ابي العب طيب
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
ساعة سويت كذا وقاعد تزعق علي كتبن
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
من جدكم بس كذا اللعبة يعني اسوي ريفند خلاص خلصتها
Wow. Yes, this room. What a beautiful room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
اوكي مساعة رحت قدام بروح الحين يسار
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track. But Stanley didn't want to go back to the office. He wanted to wander about and get even further off track. So now in order to get back, he needed to go,
ما ادري
here it's, left.
طيب
Oh, no, it's to the right, my mistake.
وين انت غبي استغفر الله
No, not the right.
بزر
Why would I have ever said it was to the right? What was I thinking? It's clearly... Oh dear, would you hold on for a minute, please?
استغفر الله الله يصبرني عليك
Now, let's see. We went down right, left, down, left, right. Yep, okay, yes. I've got it now. This story is absolutely, definitely this way.
مو عاجبني الوضع ايه
No,
واو
no. This isn't right at all. You're not supposed to be here yet. This is all a spoiler. Quick, Stanley, close your eyes.
اوكي
Okay. We just have to get back to, oh, who am I kidding? It's all rubbish now. The whole
ايش
story
كيف
is
تروح هناك
unusable. How about, rather than waste my time trying to salvage this nonsense,
We'll just restart the game from the beginning.
يا
This time,
الله.
suppose we don't wander so far off track, hmm?
مساعة I did not wander off track ويعني زعقت علي وكلتني.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
I will follow the story. لا تبلعني.
When Stanley... Wait, what?
What the fuck?
No, I restarted. I swear, I definitely restarted the game over, completely fresh. Everything should be...
لا فكرة من الباب.
Change.
Yes.
Stanley, did you change anything when we were back in that room with all the monitors?
كيف
Did you
بقدر؟
move the story somewhere or... Hold on. Why am I asking you? I'm the one who wrote the story. It was right here just a minute ago. I know for sure that it's here somewhere.
وشو؟
Okay then. It's an adventure. Come, Stanley. Let's find the story.
Wow. Okay. What? What is this? ايش قاعد يصير هنا؟ What the
I'll say it. This is the worst adventure I've ever been on. I can promise you.
what the fuck ايش قاعد يصير؟ اللعبة كرشت. هل هذا جزء من اللعبة؟ انا صراحة ما ادري. يعني هل اللعبة المفروض تكرش؟ I don't know. What؟ اوكي بلاي. ما ادري ليش كرشت بالضبط بس يعني اوكي I guess ايش هنا. يلا once again we go again. ما ادري كذا طحت على اللعبة ذي وما ادري ايش صار. ايش اللعبة ذي؟ Please enter the current time. يا حيوانات حضرت بساعة. قعدت كذا 25 العب وش هاجون. Before we get started, can I just say something? Thank you for actually setting the clock both times you booted up the game. A lot of people don't take this step seriously, they just leave it at the clock and call it a day. But you're actually taking the time to set the clock and I appreciate that. That's how I know that you care about this experience, you're paying attention. I don't even have any way of knowing if the times you're setting are correct. Tell you what, I'll make you a deal. Since you've been so cooperative, next time you boot up the game and see the screen, just set the clock to your favorite time. Go ahead, pick whichever time you want, even if it's not the correct time you've ended. Alright, I'll tell you get back to the video game now. I'll let you get back. طب اللي لعبت انا تو ايش صار يعني ايش الفائدة؟
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
Welcome back.
Yeah,
كرشت جزء من اللعبة. اوكي.
Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
كرشت جزء من اللعبة يعني. واو kind of crazy.
When Stanley came to a set of two open doors, he entered the door on his left.
كذا يوم قال this is the worst adventure I've been on طفى لعبتي. والله kind of crazy. طيب. We entered the left ها no problem. لا تزعل. ساعة زعل يا الله يعني.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
ما كان مكتوب هنا مساعة. I've got the feeling money is for stealing but not yours of course. So that's a lovely purse. صابون ابغى اغسل ايدي. سكر الباب. ايش تلعبون هنا؟ ايش هذه؟ the big beach beach. هذا باب يفتح. ترى غيروا الاوفيس. بيانو.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life.
طب غيرتوه من اخر مرة.
Unraveled, Stanley wondered in disbelief Who orchestrated this? What dark secret was being held from him?
Ah.
What he could not have known was that the keypad behind the boss's desk guarded the terrible truth that his boss had been keeping from him. And so the boss had assigned it an extra secret PIN number, 2845. But of course, Stanley couldn't possibly have known this. Yet incredibly, by simply pushing random buttons on the
Wow.
keypad, Stanley happened to input the correct code by sheer luck. Amazing. He stepped into the newly opened passageway.
طعم المكان المظلم مدري ايش. Loading.
Descending deeper into the building, Stanley realized he felt a bit peculiar.
Peculiar.
There was a stirring of emotion in his chest, as though he felt more free to think for himself, to question the nature of his job. Why did he feel this now, when for years it had never occurred to him? This question would not go unanswered for long.
ما ادري ايش قاعد يصير.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility. Although this passageway had the word escape written on it, the truth was that at the end of this hall, Stanley would meet his violent death.
Give it to me.
The door behind him was not shut. Stanley still had every opportunity to turn around and get back on track. At this point, Stanley was making a conscious, concerted effort to walk forward and willingly confront his death.
Yes sir, جيبه. توقع كان يمزح ولا من جد يعني؟ من جد. من جد. Oh. I'm alive?
As the machine whirred into motion and Stanley was inched closer and closer to his demise, he reflected that his life had been of no consequence whatsoever.
وش ذا الدث حق
Stanley can't see
نقمبة؟
the bigger picture. He doesn't know the real story, trapped forever in his narrow vision of what this world is. Perhaps his death was of no great loss, like plucking the eyeballs from a blind man. And so he resigned and willingly accepted this violent end to his brief and shallow life. Farewell, Stanley.
What?
Farewell, Stanley, cried the narrator, as Stanley was led helplessly into the enormous metal jaws. In a single visceral instant, Stanley was obliterated as the machine crushed every bone in his body, killing him instantly.
Okay. Whoa. أرنب. كذابين قصوا علي.
And yet it would be just a few minutes before Stanley would restart the game, back in his office, as alive as ever. What exactly did the narrator think he was going to accomplish?
What? إيش قاعد يصير؟
When every path you can walk has been created for you long in advance, death becomes meaningless, making life the same. Do you see now? Do you see that Stanley was already dead from the moment he hit start?
The two doors, the set of the two doors was already actually. Filing cabinets. طيب. كوريدور. ايش قاعد يصير؟ شوية يعني confused يعني ولا؟ الصغيرة. button sounds. اوكي. ده اوفيسه. طيب خلاص زقت. يمين؟ من يمين؟ روح يمين. اوفيسه كلوك. freedom ending. ابوي حرق من اللعبة. اعطاني اندنج، اعطاني مدري ايش بقى. لا قاعد امشي وبس انا. المكان اللي ما عجبني ابدا. narrator images. The game feature capybaras. How do you stay in shape? The rock master. The rock يعني. While playing what? Are you gay? Subject gay from Dink Dunk. What? ايش اللي منك قبل شوي؟ ها فضايح فضايح. I appreciate the previous time games work at Warzone. Early in development, we designed an ending where Sunny would end up on a battlefield fighting aliens. The action game would become sentient and would wage war against the narrator. We realized shortly after starting to build it that it was far too jokey and unannounced for the tone of the game, plus some people interpreted it as making fun of people who like shooters, which was not our intention. طيب. Ultra Deluxe announcement. اوكي. ترى ما لعبت الاصلية، فماشي كذا معاكم، ما ادري ايش قاعد يصير. طيب انا جيت من هنا، ما ابي يعني. اوكي، قدام يمين يسار في محل اسم مكتوب عليه ذا ستانلي بارابل كذا اكبر حروف يمديك تشوفها. فاتوقع ممكن المكان اللي المفروض اروح هناك. شو الصوت؟ فريدم عندك حركة من اللعبة يا اخي.
Oh, look at these two. How they wish to destroy one another. How they wish to control one another. How they both wish to be free. Can you see? Can you see how much they need one another? No, perhaps not. Sometimes these things cannot be seen.
ايه ما اشوف سواد بس شوف.
But listen to me. You can still save these two. You can stop the program before they both fail. Push escape and press quit. There's no other way to beat this game. As long as you move forward, you'll be walking someone else's path. Stop now and it'll be your only true choice. Whatever you do, choose it. Don't let time choose for you. Don't let...
Shit, I'm kind of slow. Damn. Damn. يا الله.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
عدت اللعبة 40 مرة. 40 مرة هذه ألعب اللعبة. هذه
Stanley
المرة
came to a
ألعب
set of two open doors. He entered the door on his left.
هذه المرة ألعب لعبة، مرة ألعب اللعبة. 40 مرة ألعب لعبة هذه اللعبة. خلاص لعبت اللعبة، ما لعبت لعبة.
Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's. Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office. But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished. His boss would think he was crazy.
ألو إيش المكان هذا؟
Something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all. None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar.
Yeah, maybe.
Repeating.
Yes.
No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real.
I'm losing my mind.
At last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. I'm dreaming, he yelled. This is all a dream. Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally
مو عاجبني
found
الوضع أبدا.
an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove it. He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal. Everything will be fine. I am okay. Stanley began screaming.
Please, someone, wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I?
And everything went black.
What the fuck? What? ايش قاعد يصير؟
The story of a woman named Mariella.
What?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her work was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man. He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. Then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
What the fuck? دقيقة خشمي انزف دم سوي بلاي قاعد يقطع
Damn, that's crazy. Shit. Fuck. Okay. Shit. كويس. اوكي. طيب. ايه بعد هاي يوم يومي خش بي خش بي. مدري يقول يا اخي تصدق من جيت المدينة وما نمت نومة عدلة مو بقادر انام. مشكلة ان الفندق بطيء حيل واذا جان شغلت لي ون بيس نمت على طول. نسومه ذا جيم.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean?
يا اخي why would I
Stanley
care?
decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
عدت اللعبة 40 مرة ما لحد الحين ما أحتاج. مرة ذي إذا رحت يمين شو يصير؟
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
That's good. Like mendicants. والله تبيني.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office. Hoping coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
I did.
Stepping into his manager's office, Stanley was once again stunned to discover not an indication of any human life. What could it mean? Stanley wondered aloud to nobody. Stanley was in such a rush to get through the story as quickly as possible, he didn't even have a single minute to just let the narrator talk. That kind of anxiety isn't healthy, so he relaxed for a few moments with some calming new age music.
ايش ذا؟ شغل لي بالله عليك ايش هذا؟ What is this? What do you think يعني why you do this to you? Why me? I didn't.
Feeling soothed and rejuvenated, Stanley
الفم الدم دخل فمي من خشمي من فوق كذا من داخل يا الله. يا ما خلص لحد الحين. الحين اكثر بعد شلون. وخ يدك الغبي. طيب شو صار الحين؟ قاعد ينزف دم والارض كلها دم ويدي دم ودم وكان واجد بعد ودم وبعد ما ادري ايش اسوي. اعطيني الشاف يا اخي دم. فك ما فين الشاف؟ اوكي يلا. ابى اروح اغسل يدي. اوه ماي جاد المايك جد. مايك تسبح. the fuck shit. نزيف وخلص النشاف وجبت نشاف جديد ومدري ايش ومدري ايش وذا اللي الحين تبع. اوكي.
Stanley walked straight ahead through the large door that read Mind Control Facility.
طيب.
Let us get our mind controlled.
The lights rose on an enormous room packed with television screens.
Huh?
What horrible secret did this place hold? Stanley thought to himself. Did he have the strength to find out?
Yes. Yes, I do. طيب اوكي. دقيقة. Hello. Is my voice very clear? Button.
Now the monitors jumped to life, their true nature revealed. Each bore the number of an employee in the building, Stanley's co-workers. The lives of so many individuals reduced to images on a screen, and Stanley, one of them, eternally monitored in this place where freedom meant nothing. This mind control facility, it was too horrible to believe it couldn't be true. Had Stanley really been under someone's control all this time? Was this the only reason he was happy with his boring job? That his emotions had been manipulated to accept it blindly?
أنا رقم كم؟ 477 شيء كذا.
He refused to believe it. He couldn't accept it. His own life in someone else's control? Never. It was unthinkable, wasn't it?
It was
it even possible?
unfathomable.
Had he truly spent his entire life utterly blind to the world? But here was the proof, the heart of the operation. Controls labeled with emotions, happy or sad or content, walking, eating, working, all of it monitored and commanded from this very place. And as the cold reality of his past began to sink in, Stanley decided that this machinery would never again exert its terrible power over another human life. For he...
خلصنا اللعبة. اوكي الحين نبدأ نسوي ريفند أخيرا. Finally.
blackness, and a rising chill of uncertainty. Was it over? Yes. He had won. He had defeated the machine, unshackled himself from someone else's command. Freedom was mere moments away. And yet, even as the immense door slowly opened, Stanley reflected on how many puzzles still lay unsolved. Where had his co-workers gone? How had he been freed from the machine's grasp? What other mysteries did this strange building hold? But as sunlight streamed into the chamber, he realized none of this mattered to him, for it was not knowledge or even power that he had been seeking, but happiness. Perhaps his goal had not been to understand, but to let go. No longer would anyone tell him where to go, what to do, or how to feel. Whatever life he lives, it will be his. And that was all he needed to know. It was perhaps the only thing worth knowing. Stanley stepped through the open door. Stanley felt the cool breeze upon his skin, the feeling of liberation, the immense possibility of the new path before him. This was exactly the way, right now, that things were meant to happen. And Stanley was happy.
Nice. Good for him. والله good for him. What شو أقول لك بعد؟ بس خلاص أبي the game يعني. طعم اللعبة النوم. سكام هاللعبة سكام.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room.
This game sucks.
Memo.
I'm out. في اللعبة الخايسة. خلني اقرا ريفيوز او شيء ما ادري. view my achievements. The achievement this test achievement please ignore test achievement. Commitment play the Stanley Parable for the entire duration of a Tuesday. What? Wait. Click on door for 35 times. Speedrun complete the Stanley Parable in under 4 minutes nothing but ignore time. Setting world champion. Set all world ما أحب اللعبة الخايسة. ريفند يا رجال شو اللعبة؟
This is the story of a man named Stanley.
fuck you and fuck Stanley استغفر الله تبي شو اللعبة السكام؟ شو اللعبة؟ سكام لا this game sucks. I'd like to request refund. Choose refund reason. It's not fun. Submit. خلاص. طيب. ترجع فلوسي بعد كم يوم بإذن الله. الحين شكلي سأتبي الخماد الأخمد. حاليا في هذا الوقت لا ما أدري. شو أسوي ما أدري ماني خلق ألعب لعبة رعب.